An encounter with Jesus. My purpose in making this recording is to offer you the chance to have your own encounter with Jesus. So first, I need to tell you a little bit about my first encounter with him. It happened while I was a patient in an addictions rehabilitation center called Changing Point in Maryland in January of 1989, 32 years ago. I had been offered an indigent bed. I didn't know what that word meant when it was offered to me, but I found out later that I had been offered a free bed because that place was allowed to treat one poor, homeless, helpless person a month who could not afford to pay. And they wanted to give the spot to someone who was desperate enough that he or she might actually make use of the offer. In other words, someone who they believed had truly hit bottom and had nowhere else to go. And I had all the prerequisites. While I was there at the age of 31, I prayed seriously for the first time since my childhood and asked God to please show himself to me if he was real, because I was alone and ashamed, and I had no hope left and no desire to go on with my life. After I prayed, a bright light filled my room, and I knew I was in the presence of God. And he said to me, "You don't have to live this way anymore. Once you get through this moment in your life, you don't ever have to feel this way again. And you don't ever have to take a drink again. If that is, you do just one thing: seek me." And then I was filled with an overwhelming feeling of well-being. I knew in that moment how much I was personally loved, and I slept for the first time in weeks. The next day, when I began to feel the dread of facing life again, instead of wanting a drink, I wanted to be with God again. So I prayed again. And again, my prayer was answered, and I felt loved. And as a result of my new knowledge and awareness of the presence of God, I never wanted to drink again. And my life changed immeasurably, but it was not the 12-step meetings, nor the countless changes I began to make in my life, like who my friends were, or where I spent my time, or how I felt about and dealt with family relationships. It was not my many new career choices. It was that first encounter with Jesus that completely changed my life. That one moment, that one encounter completely changed who I was and who I wanted to be as a person. I used to call it my complete metamorphosis, and I have always wanted to find a way to offer others that same encounter, a true encounter with Jesus, because I have come to believe that for me, that is what God meant when he said in Acts 1, verse 8, "Be my witnesses." So in carrying out my desire all these years later, I would like to present the Word, the Bible, to people, to you, in such a way that you can walk through and actually participate in the stories in it. I want to offer you a chance to play a role in history. I'd like to present you with an opportunity to have your own life-changing encounter with God. I want you to personally meet him. So I'm going to start in a logical place. This place is by the pool of Bethesda in John 5:1. So first I'm going to read the passage, then I'm going to ask you to play a role. You're going to be the lame man, and I will describe with much paraphrasing and imagining your surroundings to you. So this is the NIV version. Sometime later, Jesus went up to Jerusalem for one of the Jewish festivals. Now there is in Jerusalem near the sheep gate a pool, which in Aramaic is called Bethesda, and which is surrounded by 5 covered colonnades. Here a great number of disabled people used to lie: the blind, the lame, and the paralyzed. One who was there had been an invalid for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and learned that he had been in this condition for a long time, he asked him, "Do you want to get well?" "Sir," the invalid replied, I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred. While I'm trying to get in, someone else goes down ahead of me." Then Jesus said to him, "Get up, pick up your mat, and walk." At once the man was cured. He picked up his mat and walked. The day on which this took place was a Sabbath. And so the Jewish leaders said to the man who had been healed, "It is the Sabbath. The law forbids you to carry your mat." "But," he replied, "the man who made me well said to me, 'Pick up your mat and walk.'" So they asked him, "Who is this fellow who told you to pick it up and walk?" The man who was healed had no idea who it was, for Jesus had slipped away into the crowd that was there. Later, Jesus found him at the temple and said to him, "See, you are well again. Stop sinning, or something worse may happen to you." The man went away and told the Jewish leaders that it was Jesus who had made him well. Now, I should note that in other versions like King James, the New King James, and the NASB, an angel is mentioned who stirs the pool. For instance, John 5:3-4 in the New King James says this: "In these," the porticos or colonnades, "lay a great multitude of sick people, blind, lame, paralyzed, waiting for the moving of the water. For an angel went down at a certain time into the pool and stirred up the water. Then whoever stepped in first was made well of whatever disease he had." Now, there's been much speculation about where these versions get their story of the angel stirring the water. But whatever the answer is, it doesn't matter. What matters is the people who went there believed the water in the pool had some kind of curative qualities, so they went there to get healed. Okay, so you're the lame man who has been lame and lying by the pool for 38 years. First, how do you get there every day? Or do you never leave? The most likely scenario in my mind is that you have a hut or a covering or someplace nearby, and that you have a family member or a friend or two that bring you down and lay you under the portico every day. And on days no one is available, well, maybe your legs are paralyzed, but you use your arms to pull yourself there, or you have some sort of wheels on a board or something to wheel yourself there and back. But today, you're lying by the pool, waiting for a chance to get in and finally get healed. It's hot. That's why the 5 porticos are there, to block the sun. So you look up and around and see the sun shining light outside of the portico, and you see shadows cast by the structures. You see others lying around, blind people, paralyzed people, injured people, probably some people with limited mental abilities, some emotionally disturbed, and you can hear them, some in pain, speaking to one another about their problems, day in and day out. And you just need to be healed to get away from this mess and start over. Sounds a little like the conversations you might be hearing in hospitals or rehabs or senior living facilities or hospice centers. Places where, if you're healthy, they're uncomfortable to visit. And when you are there visiting, you're grateful to be healthy. And you look forward to walking out and being relieved of the anxiety that being there gives you. So every day, week after week, and year after year, you ask yourself, why you? You look up at the roof over you and wonder, what is keeping God from healing you? The covering is blocking out the sun. There is a reason why there are 5 porticos and not more or less than that. In the Bible, light usually represents the truth. And here, you are being sheltered from direct sunlight. You are, in a sense, being kept from the complete truth about your life, or maybe you are pushing it away on your own. And I believe what Joseph Murphy wrote in 1957 in his book, How to Use Your Healing Power, that these 5 porticos represent the five senses. In other words, only sight, hearing, touch, taste, and smell, but not any spiritual senses. While these people were laying by the pool, for whatever reason, they had no emotional insight. And without the ability to hear or understand what the Holy Spirit is whispering to you, you will never understand that healing is available. You have watched others who used to come here disappear. You don't know what happened. You can only hope that they've been healed. So today, you're lying under the shelter in the heat. You can smell the sweat from others who are lost to the world all around you. You can hear the moans of some who are in pain, and a voice comes to you from a man standing above you. You can't quite make out his face because the sun is directly behind him and shining brightly around him. But you hear him speak to you. He says, "Do you want to get well?" And you feel that he knows you. You feel he already knows the answer to his own question. You think maybe he wants you to hear your own answer as you speak it. And you want to have the correct answer to match the one he's asking for. "I have no one," you say. "I am alone." And every time the water, my whole world, the object of all my hopes, is stirred up again, and I begin to think I can be healed, I remember. I remember the things that I have done, the things I did before I was paralyzed, the people I hurt, the ones who hurt me. The pain comes back and I begin to relive the hurt. I go back to the moments, the painful memories, and then one thing becomes very, very clear. I am not worthy to be healed. I ruined all my chances to be loved. Everyone else is entitled to live a full life, but I am not. I have no value to anyone. I would love to get in the pool at the right time and be healed. But just as I begin to find the strength and the will, the faces become clear in my mind again to remind me that I don't deserve to have a better life. As soon as you're finished speaking, you can feel the warm tears running down the sides of your warm face. You are suddenly relieved of your pain. You feel weightless and clean. I have heard this feeling described as pure whiteness. You are surprised and in shock because you have never experienced anything like this feeling before. This knowing that everything in the world is right and has purpose. You never knew this tremendous joy could be and is real. You feel the tears again and you hear yourself say, "Oh my God, thank you." And you look up. The man's face is clear now. His eyes are beautiful, and you can feel the love he has for you. And he says, "You do not need the water to be healed. It is so because you have revealed your pain to me, and I have taken it." Those painful memories that you revisit just when you begin to feel worthy of living have no meaning. Do not revisit them, or you will once again be held back from the life I have planned for you. Live in the joy of today only, and always know that I am near. And now you stand up and walk away from everything about who you were before your encounter. You will no longer be needing your mat. So you find a place to bury it and leave it behind forever. When you have had a true encounter with Jesus, you know you are loved and that he is always near. You know why he says he is the truth and the light, and you never want to be without him again. If this is your first encounter, you do not know yet that you will have many more.